Mexico, where white sand beaches stretch for thousands of miles. Aztec and Mayan ruins stand as sentinels, waiting for the return of the feathered serpent god. The sea provides food and entertainment, and tropical trade winds cool your pina colada.
Hi, I'm Joanna Cassidy. You know, Mexico is one of my favorite places. I keep coming back because it lets me do what I want to do. I can spend all day just relaxing on the beach, or I can play all day and dance all night. It's my choice. On this Rand McNally video trip, I'm going to show you some of my favorite Mexico beach resorts. We'll see what each has to offer and how each is different. Everything you'll need to know to pick your own resort. And then, in the final section of our video trip, I'll give you information to make your trip easier and a lot more fun. Things like how to get around, what kind of weather to expect, how to dress, and a lot more. But we've got a lot of fun waiting for us. So let's get started.
Mexico is the most southern country in North America. Its northern boundary is shared with the United States, and to the south, the Central American countries of Guatemala and Belize. Mexico is washed by three completely different seas: the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean on the east, and the Pacific Ocean on the west. On this Rand McNally video trip, we'll be visiting beach resorts on both coasts. We'll begin on the Caribbean side on the Yucatan Peninsula with the resorts of Cancun and Cozumel. We'll then move across the country to the Pacific coast, known as the Mexican Riviera, and we'll go from south to north with the resorts of Acapulco, Ixtapas y Huataneo, Manzanillo, Puerto Vallarta, and Mazatlan. And finally, we'll move across to the tip of the Baja Peninsula to Cabo San Lucas. All these resorts are easily reached from the United States, so you can defrost in the winter just a few hours from home. We'll start on Mexico's Caribbean coast at the beautiful island of Cancun. Until 1974, Cancun was just sand, palm trees, and jungle. But the Mexican government picked it to be developed into a multi-million-dollar resort. Cancun may seem more like a sandbar than an island. It's 14 miles long, but only a quarter-mile wide. It's linked to the mainland by a causeway, and the only street, Kukulkan Boulevard, runs the entire length of the island. On the south side of the island are two calm lagoons, lined with restaurants, shops, and marinas. On the north, there's a Bay of Mujeres, and on the east, the azure blue Caribbean with its waters so clear that visibility is usually 100 feet or more. Of course, on an island, water figures in just about every outdoor activity. You can swim, windsurf, or parasail at any of the beaches on the island. Like everywhere in Mexico, beaches are federally owned and anyone can use them. The sand on Cancun beaches isn't like anything you're used to. It's actually a fine limestone powder, and no matter how hot the day, the sand stays comfortable to the bare skin. And there's always a lot of bare skin here to be worried about. About the only surf is on the Caribbean side at the east end of the island. There can be an undertow here, however, so make certain you check for warnings posted on the beach. The most popular beach is Playa Chacmul. The southern tip of the island has some of the best scuba diving and snorkeling, but the entire East Yucatan coast is rich with fish, coral growth, and shipwrecks. There are several dive shops in Cancun that give lessons, rent equipment, and conduct trips. Ask at your hotel. On the bay side, the water is calm and so shallow you can walk out 100 yards or more. Snorkeling is fantastic, and the area around the pier at Playa Tortugas is a favorite spot. On both the bay and lagoon sides, windsurfing is popular, and even beginners can navigate the calm waters. There are jet skis and sailboats to rent, and if you want to let someone else do the driving, try the Nautilus, a glass-bottom boat that lets you see beneath the surface. Speaking of boating, there's good fishing all around Cancun. Boat and tackle rentals and charter boats are available at the marinas. Bring your golf clubs. or rent a set at the 18-hole Pak to Pak Club de Golf. Designed by Robert Trent Jones, its palmed-line fairways lie between the two lagoons. The 12th hole Hazard is a real Mayan ruin uncovered during the construction of the course. There are tennis courts here as well as at many of the hotels. The Mayan ruins on the golf course aren't the only ones on the island. There are the El Rey ruins dating from about 1200 AD. They're not the most impressive in Yucatan, but certainly worth the short drive past the Sheraton. Shopping is a popular activity in Cancun. Although Cancun is a duty-free area, your best buys are usually locally produced goods. Black coral jewelry is a favorite, but handicrafts, clothing, and Panama hats are also worth looking at. There are several good shopping malls around town, and several, like the Plaza Mall Nautilus, are enclosed and air-conditioned. And if you want to try your hand at bargaining for the best price, Key Wick Handicraft Center is the best place. There are some great discos in Cancun, including Christine's, which has been rated amongst the best in the world. And for a change of pace, you can take a night cruise to a private party on a secluded beach. Getting from place to place is easy. The municipal bus system is one of the best in Mexico. Buses pass all the hotels and cross over to Cancun City on the mainland. It costs about 25 cents. Green and white taxis are available everywhere, and fares are on the zone system. Moped rentals are popular, and you can even rent a reproduction of an antique car. There are over 20 high-rise hotels, over 6,000 rooms, and more being built all the time. Almost all of them are on the eastern end of the island. Some of the best include the Westin Camino Real, the Hotel Calinda, and the Hyatt Regency Cancun. 6 miles north of Cancun is Isla Mujeres, only 5 miles long and half-mile wide. You can take a day cruise from Cancun. Francisco Hernandez de Cordoba landed here in 1517 and found hundreds of statues of Rubenesque female figures, fertility symbols. So he named the place Isla Mujeres, the Island of Women. In rum and gunpowder days, the island became a pirate haven and was used as a base for Caribbean excursions. Today, it's best known for lagoons of crystal clear water and coral reefs teeming with sea life. At the south end of the island is El Garrafon, which you can reach by either road or boat. The waters here are a protected national underwater park, great for snorkeling, and you can swim with and ride giant turtles at Playa Lancheros. Further out, scuba divers swim into the cave of the sleeping sharks. They say the sharks will let you pet them. I'll take their word for that. Hotels are at the north end of the island, clustered near the village. A couple of them have fair beaches for swimming. The largest hotel is the El Presidente Caribe. There are several discos, but many visitors prefer having quiet cocktails by the sea and watching the painted sunsets. Hernando Cortez was the first European tour leader to visit the beaches of Mexico. He sailed from Cuba in 1519 with 600 men and 16 horses. He assembled his fleet off the island of Cozumel and set sail for Veracruz to begin the conquest of New Spain. Once his troops were safely on the sandy shore, Cortez had the ships burned. You see, he didn't want his soldiers sailing home when they discovered the Mexican natives weren't quite ready for tourism. Cozumel is 28 miles long and up to 11 miles wide, the largest Mexican island. Although it's only about 70 miles from Cancun, it's years apart in atmosphere. Cozumel has a laid-back feeling that makes you think about relaxing under a palm tree, listening to soft guitars and drinking coconut milk straight from the shell. It also tends to be less expensive than Cancun. The only village, San Miguel, is a fishing port that's grown up. Visitors tend to gravitate to the waterfront's duty-free shops and small restaurants. It's a great place to grab a table at a sidewalk cafe, watch the people go by, and wait for the sun to color the sea with rose and gold. If you insist on doing something active, visit Chancanab Lagoon, a natural aquarium about 5 miles south of San Miguel. It's connected with the sea by underwater channels, and is filled with colorful tropical fish. Along the nearby beach, snorkeling and scuba diving are excellent, with many caves to explore. Further south, San Francisco Beach may be the most popular on Cozumel, with a bar and 2 good seafood restaurants among the attractions. At the southern end of Cozumel, Palanca Reef, one of the largest in the world, is only a mile offshore. There are 4 different kinds of coral here, including the rare black coral used in locally made jewelry. The black coral was discovered by Jacques Cousteau, who has declared Cozumel to be one of the finest diving areas in the world. Because diving is so popular, most Cozumel hotels cater to dive groups as well as individuals. The better hotels are located along the beach, both north and south of San Miguel. Among the most popular are the El Presidente and the Sheraton Sol Caribe. Some of the hotels have entertainment, like the unusual Maya 2000 disco at the Sol Caribe, but for the most part, Cozumel is a place to quietly enjoy the sun and sea. The Mayan ruins at Tulum can easily be seen on a day trip from either Cancun or Cozumel. Buses make the daily 80-mile run from Cancun, and there's a ferry from Cozumel. Tulum was a thriving Mayan city almost 1,000 years ago, and it's the only known fortified Mayan town that sat right on the coast. 3 sides of the city were protected by a great stone wall from 10 to 16 feet high and averaging 23 feet thick. About 125 miles away, Chichen Itza is one of the outstanding archaeological finds in the world. It was the center of Mayan civilization from around 400 AD to 1200 AD. Because of the driving time and all there is to see once you're there, plan on staying over at least one night. Our next stop is all the way west to the Pacific coast, the Mexican Riviera. And we'll start at Mexico's original jet-set resort, Acapulco. Acapulco definitely is not where you go to get away from it all. This is where you go to find excitement. It's been described as sophisticated, overcrowded, ultra-modern, even sexy. But no matter what you call it, it's by far the most popular. Some 3.5 million people visit here each year. The atmosphere at Acapulco is similar to Waikiki in Hawaii or Miami Beach in Florida. During the day, beaches are crowded with sun worshippers from all over the world. At night, clubs and discos attract more beautiful people. The action never stops.
In general, Acapulco is geared for the late risers. You can sleep until almost noon and still not miss breakfast. Around 1 or so, wander over to the beach and stake out your chair and umbrella. Lunch starts about 2, and then it's back to the beach till sundown. Dinner isn't until about 10 at night, and then the serious partying begins. The next day, you have to do it all over again. What a way to live, huh?
Acapulco's popularity originally arose from its beautiful location. The city snuggles between the green of the Sierra Madre Mountains and the azure blue of curving Acapulco Bay in the Pacific Ocean. The bay itself is formed by 2 peninsulas reaching out into the ocean, and Acapulco's sprawling growth has spilled over both peninsulas and continued on up and down the coast. The center of activity for tourists is along the Costera Miguel Alemán, the wide boulevard that parallels the curve of the bay. Fantastic hotels stretch the entire length, and shops and boutiques fill the spaces in between. Street vendors are everywhere, selling inexpensive jewelry, serapes, and other crafts. They can be very persistent, but if you're not interested, just smile and tell them no gracias. The central beaches tend to be the most popular, with La Condesa, between the El Presidente and Hyatt Continental hotels, currently the favorite spot of the in people. This is where the skimpiest bikinis, and sometimes less, are seen. Acapulco was originally a major port for trade with the Orient. Of course, Spanish galleons loaded with silks, spices, gold, and silver were sure to attract an unsavory crowd, pirates, including Sir Francis Drake, had a good old time just off the shore. Fort San Diego was built here to protect both the ships and the harbor. Papagayo Park is an amusement center for the kids, and the Children's International Center is actually an aquatic park with a wave pool, water slide, and performing dolphins and sea lions. There are 3 golf courses in town, a 9-hole municipal course and 2 18-hole courses near the Acapulco Princess Hotel, and all have a beautiful view of the bay. You can't visit Acapulco without watching the diving from La Quebrada, a cliff 150 feet above the surging water below. Before a dive, they pray at the Diver's Virgin Shrine near the top. There are literally dozens of discos, and some cater to specific age groups and lifestyles. They open about 11 p.m., and if you're adventuresome, visit several. If not, stick to the better known, like Baby O or Bacaccio.
Acapulco is so sprawling, you can't walk easily to its activities and attractions. Taxis are by far the easiest way to get around. But remember, they aren't metered. Make certain you agree on a price before you get in. Your hotel doorman can tell you what taxi fare should be, but in general, you should be able to get anywhere in town for $4 or less.
Among the hundreds of hotels in Acapulco, some have a set standard for plushness that few resorts around the world can match. The Las Brisas is rated by many as the top hotel in the world. Each cottage has a swimming pool scattered with flower petals, and pink jeeps are available for guests. And the pyramid-shaped Acapulco Princess has its own golf course and even has a swim-up bar beneath a waterfall. Other good hotels include the Acapulco Plaza and the La Palapa. 130 miles north of Acapulco, the twin towns of Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo have the best of 2 worlds. The modern development of Ixtapa and the charm of old Mexico and sleepy Zihuatanejo. Ixtapa is a pure resort. It was designed specifically for that purpose. You come here to relax in the sun or swim in the warm Pacific waters. The most popular beaches are La Ropa Beach, Playa Quieta, next door to the Club Med, and Las Gatas Beach, a favorite snorkeling area, but you can only get to it by boat or hiking a rough trail. Golfers play at the Palma Real Golf Club, which has a challenging 18-hole course designed by Robert Trent Jones. It's worth stopping in for a drink, even if you don't play golf. A modern shopping mall is an easy hike from the hotels, and the best of Mexico's arts and crafts are sold here. If you're not careful, you can come away wearing more silver than an Aztec princess. Despite the modernizing influence of Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo, just 6 miles away, has managed to retain the quaintness of an old Mexican fishing village. The streets are paved with cobblestones. Each morning, fishermen unload their catches of lobster, fish, and oysters, and local farmers display their tropical produce in the market stalls. This is where you see the true personality of Mexico. The shops in Zihuatanejo offer good quality Mexican crafts, jewelry, and clothing. And there are a number of good restaurants and bars where you can escape the heat of mid-afternoon. A popular day trip is a short cruise to Ixtapa Island, 10 miles offshore. The beaches are protected and offer good snorkeling and scuba diving. You can rent a hammock on the beach, buy freshly caught seafood at the open-air stalls, and there's even a bird sanctuary for easy bird watching. Other than the daily spectacular sunsets, discos are the most popular evening entertainment. Joy Disco and Christine's are 2 of the best. Buses run every half hour between Ixtapa and Zihuatanejo. In each town, everything is within easy walking distance. Taxis are available in front of all the hotels. You have as wide a variety of lodging here as anywhere in Mexico. All the newer hotels are in Ixtapa, while the ones in Zihuatanejo are older and smaller, but still clean and well run. In Ixtapa, some of the best include the Westin Camino Real, the Sheraton, the Cristal, and also the Dorado Pacifico. Manzanillo is the halfway point on the Pacific shore between the U.S. and Guatemala. It's a major port for commerce with the Orient, and tourism has only made slight headway here. It's as different from Acapulco as night is from day. Manzanillo got its greatest boost from the movie 10. This is where Dudley Moore pursued his dream, Bo Derek, and the Mexico scenes were filmed at the fantastic Las Hadas Resort. 10 miles of beaches and secluded bays, brilliant white buildings, and blue sky and water make the area look more like a Greek isle than a Mexican resort. The downtown area is small and shopping is limited, but its charm makes a visit worthwhile. The Zocalo, or main plaza, is quaint with cast iron street lamps and a bandstand dating back from the Victorian era. Many tourists come to Manzanillo and never leave their resort. Las Hadas, which means the ferries, is the most picturesque, looking vaguely Moorish, and has its own golf course. There are several others that offer good facilities, such as the Club Meva and the Club Santiago. Each resort tries to be as self-contained as possible. Taxis are easy to find, and you can rent them by the hour or negotiate a price for a short trip. 160 miles further north from Manzanillo, Puerto Vallarta is on the same latitude as Hawaii. The town tries to keep a small-town Mexico flavor, pushing resorts to north and south of the village. Cobblestone streets rattle your rental car, parrots squawk, pigs squeal, and burros are still an accepted form of transportation.
Puerto Vallarta first became world famous, not because of its beaches, not for its weather, but for the off-screen romance of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. In 1964, Richard was here filming Night of the Iguana, and Liz came down to lend her support. This was before they were married. So newsmen arrived in droves to report on the scandalous behavior. And suddenly, just about everyone in the world knew where Puerto Vallarta was. Jet setters came here instead of Acapulco, and the resort's place in the sun was set.
The Kawali River drops down from the mountains and divides the city into two sections. About 2/3 is on the north, and this is the commercial area and where you can taste the flavor of a real Mexican town. Whitewashed houses with tile roofs, the Zocalo, or town square with its bandstand, and the Guadalupe Church with its crown shaped like the Virgin of Guadalupe's. Women still wash clothes on the rounded stones of the riverbed. The atmosphere is what people expect Mexico to be. The other third of the city is on the south side and is more residential. Many Americans have homes here, and part of the area is known as Gringo Gulch. This is where Richard and Liz lived while the movie was being filmed. Their homes were connected by a discreet bridge which is still there. Puerto Vallarta sits on the Bahia de Banderas, the Bay of Flags, where Spanish galleons once stopped for water. Today, the broad beach is lined with luxury hotels. Most of the modern hotels are along the north shore, but some have migrated to the south where they share the beach with private villas. Although most people tend to stick to the beachfront at their hotel, there are several more public beaches that are worth checking out. Playa del Sol is on the south side of the bay. This is a great place to parasail, water ski, or play a game of donkey polo on the beach. After the game, stop at one of the thatch-covered restaurants that line the shore and wait for one of those fiery Mexican sunsets. 7 miles south, Mismaloya Beach was the shooting location of the Night of the Iguana. It's certainly not the pristine strip of sand shown in the movie. There are shoulder-to-shoulder stalls selling food and drink, and whole fish roasted on a stick is a specialty here. Scuba diving is popular at a rock formation just offshore, and the remains of the actual movie set are just down the road. Chino's Paradise, a little way inland along the Mismalayo River, is one of those out-of-the-way places that's worth the effort to find. It's built into a cliff next to a waterfall and pool. You can enjoy a rum punch and watch kids dive off the high rocks into the pool. Of course, after a couple of great drinks, you may be jumping off with them. Some of the best shopping in Mexico can be found in Puerto Vallarta. There are literally dozens of fine shops, art galleries, and boutiques. The biggest concentration is on the north side of town along the Malecon, the avenue that parallels the bay. Tasco silver and Oaxaca pottery are favorites, and many shops will custom make high-fashion clothing and have it ready in a day. There are several markets around town, and browsing through them can be a lot of fun. You'll always find something you want to take home. Just make sure you're ready to do some intense but good-natured bargaining. Restaurants in just about every price range and style are scattered around town, and most, like Carlos O'Brien, serve fantastic seafood. Nightlife in Puerto Vallarta is patterned along the same lines as Acapulco. Discos attract the energetic crowd, and the activity lasts all night. Getting around can be easy via the excellent municipal bus system, or you can hail a taxi just about anywhere in town. A schedule of fixed fares is available at the local tourist office. Puerto Vallarta's beautiful setting lends itself to beautiful hotels, and there are many of those here. Among the best are the Camino Real, the Holiday Inn, Bougainville's Sheraton, and the Plaza Vallarta, where the John Newcomb Tennis Center is located. Sitting almost on the Tropic of Cancer is Mazatlan, and it has its own unique personality. It's not as flashy as Acapulco or as slick as Cancun, but that's not what people look for when they come here. They come for great fishing. That's what Mazatlan is famous for. Mazatlan sits at the mouth of the Gulf of California, and the warm currents just offshore are like a magnet to giant marlin, sailfish, tuna, sea bass, red snapper, and fishermen. Mexico's largest commercial shrimp fleet is based here, and it's a good bet that much of the shrimp you eat in your hometown came from these very waters. Mazatlan is the closest big resort to the United States, and many visitors arrive by car or recreational vehicle. Prices in Mazatlan tend to be lower, and everyone seems to stay around a few extra days. It's also a popular port of call for cruise ships. The town itself sits on a small peninsula with the Pacific Ocean on one side and a protected harbor on the other. At the tip of the peninsula, El Faro, the lighthouse, is said to be the second highest in the world. Its light is over 500 feet above the water and can be seen 30 miles out to sea.
Mazatlan has had an exciting and sometimes violent history. The port was used to ship silver and gold to Spain and naturally attracted pirates who roamed the Pacific coast. It is said that they buried their ill-gotten treasures along the coast here. There have been American blockades, French bombardments, and revolutionary shooting. And Mazatlan's place in the chronicles of warfare was firmly written when the first bomb ever dropped from an airplane landed right at the corner of Carnival and Gonzales streets.
Mazatlan has a great assortment of beaches. To the north, Sabalo Beach has the calmest water. As you move on around the peninsula, the waves build in size until you get to Olas Altas Beach. Olas Altas means high waves, and this is a great place for surfing. This is also the location of El Mirador, a group of rocks where locals dive into the surging water below. It's sort of an Acapulco cliff dive in miniature. The divers collect tips before the dive here just in case, since the water's only 4 feet deep. Day cruises to a number of small islands just offshore are popular. One island is great for bird watching, another for collecting shells and snorkeling. The Isla de la Piedra is quiet and somewhat primitive, and you can hang a hammock here and spend the night for free. There's also a 3-hour cruise of the bay, complete with entertainment and a stop for a quick swim. Mazatlan is the place for sportsmen. If you come here to fish, there are 8 fishing fleets in operation. Arrangements can be made through your hotel, but during the winter you should reserve a boat at the same time you make your lodging reservations. Of course, every fisherman should stop by the Fisherman's Monument, a Mazatlan landmark. There's an 18-hole golf course at the Resort Hotel El Cid, as well as 8 clay tennis courts. There are an ample number of shops with a good selection of goods from around Mexico. A popular stop is the Mazatlan Arts and Crafts Center, which has almost 30 shops and many craftsmen working right in the shops. Of course, seafood is a specialty in Mazatlan. The shrimp bucket is one of the liveliest spots in town. Señor Frog's may be a little noisier and crazier, but the food is just as good. And there are dozens of other good eating spots, with most having outdoor tables where you can enjoy a view of the ocean. Getting around is relatively easy. A very good bus system serves the town and everything along the shoreline where almost all the hotels are located. Taxis are available at any hotel, but the most unique way to get around is by pulmonía, little golf cart-like taxis that hold 3 people. They'll run you up and down the beach for about $1.50. Discos are the center of Mazatlan nightlife, and just about every hotel has their own. And the ones here, like Valentino's and El Caracol, are almost as flashy as the ones in Acapulco. Thursday nights, it's fiesta. The Holiday Inn puts on a spectacular show with great food, mariachis, folk dances, and even a dancing horse. You can't help but have a good time. Accommodations are grouped in 2 different areas. The older and less expensive hotels are located around the center of Mazatlan and along the beaches to the south. The newer resort hotels are grouped along the beach about 5 miles north of town. Among the best resorts are the Camino Real, the Holiday Inn Mazatlan, Los Sabalos, and the El Cid Resort, which sits on 375 acres and has an 18-hole golf course. From Puerto Vallarta, you can take an overnight ferry ride across the Gulf of California to one of Mexico's most remote resorts, Cabo San Lucas. It's at the tip of the tail of Mexico's California, the Baja Peninsula.
Vacationers find Baja attractive for 3 reasons. First, for those wanting to get away from it all and just relax, this is the place to go. You won't find fancy discos, expensive shops, or thousands of people packed on the beach. Second, like Mazatlan, it's a center for sport fishing. And third, the warm, clear waters offer some of the most exciting scuba diving anywhere.
Baja is still a wild country dotted with cactus and cattle. The desert colors are rust and copper and cream. Sandy beaches without a footprint wander for 2,400 miles, washed by the blue waters of the Sea of Cortez and the Pacific Ocean. The air is unpolluted, and at night you see more stars in the heavens than you've ever seen before. For many not used to the desert, this kind of beauty takes some getting used to. Los Arcos, the Arches, is where the land ends. The natural arch was carved in the sandstone by thundering waves where the Pacific surf crashes into the calmer Gulf waters. Sea lions make their home here and got used to human visitors a long time ago. You have to get here by boat, but most of the resorts have boats for hire. There are even glass-bottom boat rides to see the undersea life around the coral formations. This is heaven for fishermen who chase more than 800 species of fish that swarm just offshore. 75 of these species are prime game fish, and the most popular catches are billfish, blue, black, and striped marlin, and sailfish. Fishermen are encouraged to tag and release all they catch. The locals make their living from the sea, and they want to be gentle with its delicate ecology. The beaches are smaller and the sand is rockier, but there's still a pleasant way to spend a day. Especially Playa del Amor, the beach of love at the Arch. And all along the shore, tide pools are alive with sea life. This is a mecca for scuba divers. Where else can you make friends with a sea lion and play tag underwater? There's also a natural curiosity that you can't see anywhere else, an underwater cascade of sand that rolls from the shallows into the deep drop-offs along the Gulf bottom. Because Baja really hasn't been fully developed, the resort hotels are pretty much self-contained. Several have their own landing strips, charter boats, scuba shops, and just about everything else you'll need. Among the better resorts is the Hotel Twin Dolphin, about 20 miles from the airport. The Hotel Palmilla and the Hotel Calinda Cabo Baja has a great view of the Arch.
Well, that's our tour of Mexico's top beach resorts. From Cancun on the east coast to Cabo San Lucas on the west, from Acapulco on the south to Mazatlan to the north. Each is different and each has something very special to offer. Now, to help you decide which is right for you, a little summary may be helpful. For a jet-set, high-excitement vacation, your best bet is Cancun, Acapulco, Ixtapa, or Puerto Vallarta. They're also the most expensive. If it's peace and quiet you're after, Cozumel, Manzanillo, and Cabo San Lucas would be top choices. If you're on a budget, Mazatlan and Cozumel will give you more options. For fishing, try Mazatlan, Manzanillo, Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo, or Cabo San Lucas. And for scuba diving and snorkeling, Cancun, Cozumel, and Cabo San Lucas offer the very best underwater fun. Regardless of the Mexico Beach resort you select, there's a great vacation waiting for you. Now, in the final portion of our video trip, we'll cover some useful information to make your trip easier and a lot more fun.
The most common way to get to Mexico is on a commercial airliner. Flights are available from most major American cities to any of the beach resorts. Just remember, on international flights, the number of bags you can carry is strictly limited and excess baggage can get very expensive. A great way to see Mexico is on one of the many cruise ships calling on the beach resorts. The ship is your floating hotel and lets you see and enjoy several ports of call without ever having to repack your bags. Ships usually sail between ports at night, so you don't miss a thing. Some of Mexico's beach resorts are within easy driving distance of the southern United States. Mazatlan and Cabo San Lucas are the most popular driving destinations. If you plan on driving, a valid U.S. driver's license will work in Mexico as well. You'll need a car permit, but you can get one at the border. Just make sure you have your car registration and proof of ownership with you. You'll also need Mexican car insurance. Your local insurance agents can help you get the proper policy. Once you're in Mexico, it's easy to get from place to place either by air or by train. Mexicana, the national airline, and Aeromexico have frequent flights between all the major beach resorts. And traveling by train is still popular in Mexico. Trains are well maintained and also very inexpensive. Published schedules are usually just general guidelines, however, so don't take the train if you have to get somewhere exactly on time. You can make reservations at any Mexican train station. When you make reservations, go ahead and get a sleeper compartment. They're much more comfortable and cost only a few dollars more. Ferry boats run daily from Puerto Vallarta to Cabo San Lucas and from Mazatlan to La Paz. These overnight trips are a great way to get across the Gulf of California. They'll take your car across and you can sleep in a comfortable berth. And the ferry between Cancun and Cozumel is a high-speed jet catamaran, almost more an airplane than a boat. It runs daily. Preparing food in Mexico is almost an art form. And despite what many people think, it's not all hot and spicy. Sure, you can get tamales, enchiladas, and tacos, and they're great, but try some of the seafood, and pork and chicken, and, well, needless to say, you don't have to worry about being well fed down here. Many people do worry about the infamous Montezuma's revenge. This is the upset stomach you can get from many sources, including a change in your diet. Remember, you're in a foreign country and your body may not be too happy about it at first. Your best bet is to talk to your family doctor before you leave home, and he can give advice on how to prevent and treat any problems. In general, the water at the better hotels and restaurants is safe to drink, but you may want to stick to bottled water, soft drinks, or a good Mexican beer. If you do get sick, it may help to think that when Mexicans visit the United States, the same thing happens to them.
Traveling to Mexico really requires surprisingly little paperwork. You have to get a tourist card, but they're available at many travel agencies and at most ticket counters of airlines flying into Mexico. You'll need proof of citizenship like a passport or birth certificate. The driver's license won't work for this. Keep your tourist card with you at all times and make sure you have it available when you get ready to leave Mexico. Don't pack it in your suitcase. Another good tip is to make copies of both your tourist card and your proof of citizenship. Copies will make them much easier to replace if they're lost.
You'll have to go through Mexican customs when you arrive and through U.S. customs when you return home. Your travel agent can give you a list of what items you can take into Mexico. To help speed up your re-entry into the United States, make sure you keep the receipts for everything you've purchased. It also helps to pack all your purchases together so the customs agent doesn't have to look in every suitcase. Part of Mexico's popularity is due to its tropical weather. The beach resorts have warm temperatures all winter long with highs during the day in the mid-70s to mid-80s. Absolutely perfect for working on a winter tan. The rainy season is from about June through October, except on the Baja Peninsula where it almost never rains. From November through April, any rain is usually just a quick afternoon shower. The clothing to take should be casual, but you'll definitely need more than just shorts and bathing suits. Mexicans are pretty conservative, and beach attire isn't acceptable anywhere but at the beach or hotel pool. And you'll find people at the discos and nightclubs dressed just as fancy as anywhere in the United States. Anytime you go to Mexico, and especially during the busy winter season when overbooking is common, take every precaution to make sure you have a room waiting. Start with a prepaid reservation and request a written confirmation directly from the hotel. Don't rely on a confirmation from your travel agent. The written confirmation should include arrival and departure dates and the room rate. If you still have trouble once you arrive, call the Tourism Ministry in Mexico City. During the winter, most hotels offer rooms only on a modified American plan, which means breakfast and one other meal are included in the daily room rate. During the rest of the year, you can usually find a room without any meals included at a much lower price.
Many people are afraid that if they can't speak Spanish, they'll have a hard time in Mexico. Well, in general, you don't have to worry. Staff members at all the major hotels, restaurants, and shops speak English just about as well as you do. But if you're going to get away from the main tourist areas, a good phrase book will prove invaluable and probably get you through without major problems.
Most of your purchases in Mexico will be priced and paid for in pesos. You can convert dollars into pesos at any major bank in the United States, but I recommend converting just enough to get through the first couple of days. Carry the rest of your money in traveler's checks and do the conversion at a Mexican bank. That way, it's not only safer to carry, but you'll get the best exchange rate. Most places a tourist goes in Mexico take U.S. credit cards, including MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover. The major exception to all of this is Cabo San Lucas, where most transactions are in dollars, and many places, including the hotels, take cash only. Electrical current in Mexico is the same as that in the United States. That means all your hair dryers, curlers, and razors will work here just as well as at home. The wall plugs are the same also, so you don't even need adapters.
Well, now you should be all set to take that perfect vacation to any one of Mexico's great beach resorts. And when you do go, Rand McNally has several items to make your trip easier. Check your local bookstore for items like the Rand McNally Pocket Guide to Mexico and the Rand McNally Road Atlas. Thank you for sharing this time with me and letting me be your host. I'm Joanna Cassidy, inviting you to enjoy the fun of Mexico's beach resorts. Hasta luego!
There are many other Rand McNally programs to great vacation destinations around the world. For a free brochure, call this toll-free number or ask for Rand McNally video trips at your favorite video store or bookstore. It's the best way to make sure your vacation is exactly the way you want it to be.